Okay, so we're talking about arm styling now. Arm styling is one of those things that people have lots of questions about because it's pretty easy. In the beginning, we start with like what to do with your feet. From the very first lesson, that's what we're focused on. And then eventually you start to realize you have these dangly appendages that don't have any idea what to do while your feet are doing the things that we've trained them to do. And so we're gonna talk about different options for your arms today and then how to strengthen your arms while you're at home and maybe can't get to the gym or to the dance studio. So there are 4 safe zones of arm styling. These are the places that your arms go and generally look natural to your body. So the first safe zone is jumping jack. So that's just to the sides of your body and slightly in front of you. We don't want to go behind because then we get funny things with the shoulders. So you want to be able to see your hands in your peripheral vision. But basically as if you were doing a jumping jack. The tricky part with the arms in this zone is that right up to about here, where they're even or just slightly below your shoulders, usually pretty comfortable. Once the hand passes your shoulder, oftentimes the shoulder wants to come up into your ear. So what you want to try to do is take your shoulder blade and feel like you roll it down underneath your armpit once you hit that point, so that your arm can continue up and your shoulder can stay down instead of coming up to your ear. So you can practice that one arm at a time, kind of put it out to the side slightly below your shoulder, feel like you roll your shoulder blade under your armpit and then continue with the hand up to the sky. And the goal is to be able to feel comfortable enough with that you can do that without stopping. That as my shoulder passes that point, it naturally rolls underneath there. So that's a great thing to practice with your jumping jacks, is just to make sure that that shoulder blade kinks under your armpit so that you can continue up past your shoulder with a nice position here instead of looking like you've got an itchy ear. So that's safe zone number 1 is your jumping jack zone. Safe zone number 2 is your tabletop. So this is everything in front of your body. When you want to take up as much space as possible, which makes everything look big and look confident, we want to use a specific order of your joints here. So we're always going to go shoulder, elbow, wrist, and then your fingertips are the very last thing. So when I'm bringing my arm in and out on this tabletop zone, which is slightly below your sternum, you want it, or so your collarbone, you want it to be about sternum height. I'm going to bring my shoulder first, this joint, so that I have like a Frankenstein arm. I'm going to leave my elbow and just bend that elbow so I have like a 90-degree angle now. You can see this 90-degree angle in front of my body. And then the very last thing is kind of that wrist and then the fingertips curl just to make it look not too flat. Then when I go back out, I'm going to start by just my shoulder joint here. So everything else is in the same shape. Then I relax my wrist so that it's just a little loose. Undo my elbow joint, and then the last thing is my wrist and my fingertips. So as I do this, I'm doing the joints in that order so that it takes up as much space as possible. Oftentimes people do their hand first and do the wrist joint, and then it starts looking uncomfortable or unnatural. So you want to make sure that you take all those joints in that same order. And oftentimes people practice when one's coming in, the other is out, and then as one goes out, the other comes in. That's for like advanced if you're really comfortable with this, getting both arms to go, or you can do both arms coming in and both arms going out at the same time. That's your safe zone number 2, tabletop. Safe zone number 3 is the wave. So that's everything right here in front of your shoulders. So you don't necessarily have to do this with your arms. There are a lot of things that can happen in this zone. Oftentimes people will point their finger, or they'll bring their hand down in front of their body. You'll do an explosion where it comes up in front of you this way and then open. So this is kind of a ballet position in that zone. The same thing happens in this zone as happens in your jumping jack zone, where the hand starts to pass the height of your shoulder and you have to roll that shoulder blade up and under your armpit. So that's a great thing to practice here too, whether your arm's in kind of a curve, like a soft curve, like ballet, or whether your arm is flat, doesn't matter, but you're trying to practice that as soon as you get to that shoulder, that underarm goes, the shoulder blade goes into your underarm so the arm can come up without having the shoulder in your ear again. So that's a good one to practice, is that in any different way. But anyway, the arms are out here in front of you. They look kind of natural to your body. So that's your wave zone. The last zone is mostly for the ladies. This is touch your body. So gentlemen, you usually get this one. This is the Superman or the butler. Yes, and so you don't get a whole lot of touch your body. Every once in a while, a hand on the rib, but you don't get to do a lot of touching. But for the ladies, we do actually frequently touch our bodies because it looks kind of sexy. So there's a couple rules to this one. This part of your hand here, I call the ball of your hand. This is what actually touches you. If you touch with your whole hand, it sometimes looks like a claw. And so you want to stretch your fingers back away from that part of your hand. If you're double jointed, you're like in great luck. This works awesome on your hands. I have to really fight for mine, but we're trying to touch with that part of the hand. So oftentimes we do this around the head thing, down the body, this guy. Basically anywhere you touch your body, you're trying to touch with that part of your hand instead of your whole hand. And we want to make sure that these are things that would come kind of naturally to your body. So if you can relate them to things you do in everyday life, it helps. So for instance, the one that goes over your head, oftentimes people do it this way, which looks a little odd, yes? And so the goal would be to get the hand across behind your head to the other side, like you're pulling the hair off of your neck, like it's hot outside. So we want to do that with that ball of the hand. This one is I'm wiping the wrinkles out of my shirt. Yeah, so we've all done that at some point. This one is wiping your hands off on your pants. This one is touch the pearls. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so we're trying to do things that might mimic things that we do in everyday life because that makes it look a little bit more natural. Even hands on hips. I am using my thumb. My thumb doesn't get to touch, but I'm trying to keep this ball of the hand touching more so that my fingertips are not gripping or I don't have real lazy hands, which oftentimes affects your posture. So that's your fourth safe zone, is touch your body. So we have the jumping jack, we have the tabletop, we have the wave, and we have touch your body. So those are the 4 places your arms can go, and you can combine these in kind of interesting combinations. Anytime the zones touch is a place that you can jump from one zone to the other. So if I'm going up in my jumping jack zone, right here at this point where I'm right below my shoulder, I'm also in tabletop zone, so I could transition to here. Then my arm's in front of me, this is also your wave zone, so I could transition here, and then I could go behind my hair and touch my body. So anytime you have these zones that touch, you can transition different ways to kind of get different looks with your arm styling and have different variety, but all the time I'm staying in those zones. So practicing that is really helpful. Another thing that can help to strengthen your arms as we're kind of stuck at home and maybe not doing as much physically as we would like is I'm gonna bust out our wine again. And so anything that's kind of heavy, just make sure you got a good grip if it's glass, but you could use water bottles, you could use just about anything you can fit in your hands. But practicing this also helps kind of just with general arm strength, all the different muscles in your arms, but you can practice those zones holding your wine bottles so that you get used to how that feels with that kind of strength there. It definitely does work. It's gonna be a little harder to touch your body with the wine, so you might do less of that one, but anything in front, that's just gonna work all the muscles in your shoulders, in your arms, just getting used to those zones. We're trying to keep the arms moving. This also creates a little bit of resistance in your arms, which is really helpful for making your arm styling look natural. Oftentimes when people do arm styling, they tend to kind of fling their arms around and their arms are real loose and not enough muscle tone, so it doesn't look as confident or as strong as we could look. So when you're holding something heavy, you have to use a little bit slower use of your muscles, and it's forcing your muscles to actually have a little bit of tone there. So that can help get you used to when you don't have something in your arm, having that feeling of strength in your arms so that you're using those muscles as you do your arm styling instead of just kind of flopping through the zones. Yes, so practice with some wine bottles or something and practice those zones so that when you come back to us, your arms are amazing. Have a great day, guys. Bye.